Speaking of Montreal and the Stanley Cup playoffs, can we please bring in now our good friend John Lu joining us from Montreal? And I appreciate the time. It's with a very hectic time, I'm sure, right now as the Habs beat writer for TSN. How you doing, John?
Great, thanks, Rod. It's been a long time. Thanks for having me on the show again.
Far too long. You've had a haircut since the last time that we talked. And actually, let's jump right in this, Darren. Do you want to ask him the question?
Yeah.
Please, he's got a question for you.
The suit, John, with the hood and the shoes. Like, where did you source that? I mean, Montreal would be the place.
Tell the viewers, he had a suit on with a hood on it.
Yeah, the suit had the hood. It had a hood on it, but it looked really sharp. So where'd you get that?
I'm going to give a plug to my tailor, my longtime tailor / stylist, Pellegrino Castronovo, who was born and raised in Montreal. He's, in my opinion, might be a little biased, the premium bespoke tailor in the country. And he's been doing my suits and sports jackets and trousers for almost 13 years now. And the suit that you saw is a 3-piece suit that I came up with the concept, the idea, like probably back in January, as what I call a post-pandemic suit, and which I also ended up calling the Zoom suit, as kind of a play on words, because many of us are familiar with a zoot suit, and so this is a Zoom suit because for the last 15 months, I swear I have not done a virtual interview in actual pants. I've either worn shorts or pajama bottoms or sweatpants. I've been wearing T-shirts like you see right now, and hoodies if my office was cold in the winter, which often it was this past year. And so coming up with the Zoom suit concept was trying to carry on this new level of comfort to which we are accustomed from having worked through the pandemic, and bringing it into a business suit. So it's a hybrid, right? So the jacket is actually like what many people would call a swacket, which is a combination sweater jacket. And the hood that you saw is actually a hooded vest, like a sleeveless vest, zippered vest with a hoodie that's attached by buttons. So I can take the hoodie off or put it back on. And the pants are joggers. So
it's cool.
It's super comfortable.
Yeah. Well, clearly.
Super comfortable.
I said to Darren, nothing would surprise me in Montreal. It's the fashion capital of the country, obviously. Go to John's Twitter and you'll see it. But styling, man, we all noticed. Let's put it that way, Johnny. So the obvious question is, what is going right with the Montreal Canadiens as they roll into the third round of the Stanley Cup playoffs? Not many saw it coming, John.
Yeah, well, you know what? If you wanted to point back to a moment before Game 5 where they had a team meeting in Toronto, and Eric Staal and Corey Perry and Shea Weber were three of the really experienced veterans who, well, certainly Perry and Staal have won everything there is to win in hockey, and Shea Weber being an Olympian and also garnering the respect that he does as the captain and the purveyor of the culture within that Canadiens dressing room. The three of them basically stood up, and they didn't go into details about exactly what they said, but it was along the lines of the importance of cherishing and appreciating the opportunity that they had in the playoffs, because they don't come around all that often. And that really resonated with players in that room, because we saw what happened the next day. They went out and played Game 5 and got themselves back into that Toronto series, winning 3 in a row, and then basically having almost no turnaround time, facing a very rested and fresh and healthy Winnipeg Jets team and dispatching them in 4 games. So there was certainly inspiration. There's been belief in that dressing room the entire season. We've heard that word belief so many times since training camp, when the Canadiens were preparing for a campaign in which Marc Bergevin had made significant changes to their roster in terms of additions that were comprising mainly winners, Stanley Cup winners. You're talking about Jake Allen and Joel Edmondson and the aforementioned Perry. He added Eric Staal just before the trade deadline. Guys that know what it takes and that have been there. And so there's a level of experience and calmness and pedigree that's really been behind the Canadiens' strong belief in each other and themselves. And the chemistry too. Like they went through a pretty significant bout of adversity at the middle of the season, having that COVID shutdown for a week and then having to play the final 25 games of their season in 44 days. So they really galvanized, those moments really galvanized that group. And that's what you're seeing in that 7-game winning streak, where they've essentially been getting better. Their team play has been improving with each subsequent win. And so now they're going into this next round with heightened belief and confidence, and now they're just waiting to see who they're going to play.
Well, they did make a coaching change in the middle of that. And one guy that
I forgot to mention that too. Yeah.
No, but that's the big one. And I want to ask you about Dominique Ducharme, because I don't know much about the guy. Eastern guy. I know he's got the Hockey Canada pedigree. I know everything about that and what he's done. Great things in junior. But I'm a Patrick Waugh guy, so I was kind of hoping it would all blow up and then bring in Patty and take over the whole thing. That's not happening now. Like, it just seems like they must love Dominique Ducharme because they're playing for him. They're playing for each other. He's got to have a big factor in this.
Well, the players, right from the beginning, they respected Dominique Ducharme because he's been on the Canadiens bench since last season. He was an assistant coach, and of course he was promoted when the team dismissed Claude Julien. But the thing is that at the point of the season, late February, where Ducharme did come in, this season was so unusual, so unique that any team will tell you that coaching staffs have had a really difficult time because they've had almost no opportunities to dedicate serious, full practice time to their teams. There's been a lot of team meetings, a lot of video breakdown, but good old-fashioned hard work type practices, work sessions have been scarce. And so for Ducharme, who really had a pretty clear idea of the type of style he wanted this team to play, having to implement his system in bits and pieces, there was only so much he could throw at the players in a short time frame, and he did throw a lot at them. There was an adjustment period that was really going on all season that was complicated by the aforementioned bouts of adversity and obstacles that they encountered between the time that Ducharme took over and the conclusion of the regular season. And you look at the record, the Canadiens stumbled into the playoffs. And a lot of fans and some media were criticizing him heavily for his personnel choices, that it took him as long as he did to some of it was cap issues with Cole Caulfield that delayed his ability to play his first NHL game. But then you get into the playoffs, and Caulfield didn't start the playoffs against Toronto, and a lot of people were criticizing Ducharme about that. They criticized him for not starting Jesperi Kotkaniemi in the Toronto series until the second game when Jake Evans got injured. They criticized him for not starting Alexander Romanov at the start of the playoffs. They criticized him for sticking with Eric Staal because his performance after he was acquired prior to the trade deadline was not up to snuff for what people believed he was capable of achieving. And so, a lot of what's happened in these first two rounds has vindicated Dominique Ducharme. It's validated what he has done and what he was doing, the decisions that he made. And so at this point, if people were wondering, is that interim tag going to be removed or will he not be retained as the head coach? I think he's answering those questions for himself with the way that his team has responded and what they've been able to do. So, if the decision had to be made at this point, I believe that Marc Bergevin would remove the interim tag and make Dominique Ducharme full-time head coach.
You make a good point, though, John. They got a ways to go. They're only halfway to the Stanley Cup, and it just jarred in my memory. I remember Game 6 of the Stanley Cup final when the Blues were playing the Bruins, and in the arena, whatever they call it now, it's been the Savas Center, Kiel Center, they said, and your interim head coach of the St. Louis Blues, Craig Berube. And I'm like, oh, come on. He's got him to Game 6 of the Stanley Cup. You can take interim off. There's still a way for Ducharme to go, but I just couldn't see them not signing him now.
I don't think they want to do it just for the reason that it might be a little bit of
well, they'll wait till the season's over.
Not a distraction,
right?
but
yeah.
But in this market, and it's different in St. Louis as opposed to Montreal. And if they were to make that decision right now, I don't want to say that it would become a distraction, but it would certainly become a debating point, a hotly debated talking point. And as much as I say that I believe that Ducharme's body of work in the playoffs has probably secured him the opportunity to be the full-time head coach. There's still going to be people that will dispute that, think that, well, there's still things that sit wrong with them. And it just, the Canadians are very sensitive to what is being said and written and debated in the markets. They may not respond to it, but they're very sensitive to it and they take note of it, right? And I don't think there's a rush at this point, honestly, Rod. And so I believe that they'll wait until the season's over. They'll see how far this team goes and they'll make their announcement. They may not do it right away, but I just think that it'd be hard to dismiss Ducharme because that's what they'd have to do. You can't just send the guy back to be an assistant coach or put him in Laval to be the head coach. It's like thanks for what you did and, good luck in the future, right?
Yeah, I guess. I don't expect they'll sign him now during this run, but I just think what he's done should have cinched him when this is over to remain the head coach of the Montreal Canadiens. I didn't word it properly. John, just a couple minutes left. What do you think about CN Tower adorning itself in red, white, and blue for the Montreal Canadiens? Do you have an opinion?
I was really quite surprised by the gesture, which I thought was really classy. But the thing is, what CN's Canadian National, right? That's a national company. And so it's a Toronto icon, the building, but at the same time, it is a national company. So by strict definition, if that symbol is attached to a company that represents us from coast to coast, then it behooves them to salute whichever team has gone this far in the playoffs, whether it was the Leafs or not. I mean, and I'd like to think that they would have done the same thing for the Jets or the Flames or the Canucks or, you name it. Whoever might have gotten to this stage, or that would have represented the North Division. So, I thought it was like a really classy gesture. And so I'm sure Torontonians, a lot of them would have serious issue with it. But from the standpoint of saying, okay, well, it is a national symbol, I thought it was very classy.
Me too, but like you, surprised. And just in 60 seconds, I was on a show in Kentucky last night, and they asked me, what do the 2,500 fans in the Bell Center bring to the Habs on the ice? And I thought, well, I'm going to be talking to John Lu tomorrow. Maybe he'd be better to ask about that. Sure seems exciting in there. What do you think? Is that help the Habs?
Oh, unquestionably, Rod. And I'll just go back to Game 6 of the opening round. That is a game that I will never forget. Like 2,500 fans. I mean, I'm used to 21 plus and just the deafening noise, depending on what the team is doing at any point in the playoffs. But 2,500 people, the energy and the volume and the awareness that they brought to every moment. It was like they had all this pent up energy stored up during the pandemic that they released. It was like this incredible catharsis through from the pregame warm up until the post-game when Jesperi Kotkaniemi came out on the ice to salute them and for them to applaud back after he was selected first star. It was incredible. And Brendan Gallagher, talking today, said that he acknowledged that those crowds definitely make a difference to the team. They're small, awesome, but they're very vocal.
Fantastic stuff. I'm getting shivers thinking about that. John, always a pleasure, my man. Great to see you. Keep up the great work. We're watching every day. Thanks for this.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
TSN's John Lu joining us from La Belle Province.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.